main reason for the call today, or this webinar today, is that we heard from a lot of chapters that because of the current situation that we're in, they're looking to start hosting virtual education events. And I do apologize if you hear any dogs barking. It's mail time for us, so I do apologize for that. With the Zoom platform, it's the most commonly used within our chapters. This is also the system that we have the most experience with here at headquarters. And then also just with hearing what other organizations are using and doing, they do recommend Zoom because it's a great choice for both running online education, for tracking, and it's a pretty simple system to use. This webinar today will mainly be focused on using the Zoom platform for education events. I do know that many of you are using it for happy hours, which is great, and there might be some things that we go through today for that, but really we're looking at this from the standpoint of doing an education event through this platform. I will say that we're not recommending or making it mandatory that you use this system, but you should, pick a system or use a platform that both fits your chapter needs, your staffing abilities, and also what you're trying to accomplish. So you might be able to take away some things that we talk about today and use it in another platform. But again, since this is the most commonly used, we wanted to give that ability to go through some of the logistics here. I do want to say too that in no way are we connected to Zoom in any way. We don't receive any financial support from them or compensation. The product that we're using today is actually the Zoom meeting product, which is in our Pro Plan account that we pay for. So again, this isn't a commercial or anything like that. It's just really based off of the time that we're in at this moment. I will say too that Zoom has two main products. It's the meetings product and the webinars product. They're pretty similar. I'm going to show another photo to you guys here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and pull that one up for you. So this is directly from Zoom, this here. I'll leave this up while I'm kind of go into a couple of things. I will say that the webinar feature is an additional feature that Zoom offers at an additional price. So you can see, from this list, a couple of the main differences, but really the difference is going to be from the attendee standpoint of what you're trying to accomplish with the attendees. And I say that because if you're using a Zoom meeting, that's much more of a back and forth. The audience can communicate with the speakers. You can give audience members the ability to share their screens, take control of your screen. So there's a little bit more flexibility in communicating with the audience, where the webinar feature does not give that same ability. It's more of a text feature. Ability to communicate with the audience, and it's made for a larger group of people. Again, this might be a little bit better in terms of controlling some of the pieces. It does have a practice session built into it, so you can run practices with your speakers or people who are presenting. And then the other big difference that the webinar feature has is a Q&A section. That Q&A section allows for people to put questions in versus having to put it in through the chat box. So it just helps monitor the questions a little bit better, especially when you have a larger group of people. So with that, I also want you to remember that there's three main areas of people within the Zoom audience. One is the admin or the host. So that would be, for example, me today. There would be a presenter or speaker. Again, that would be me today. And then the attendees, which are you guys. Usually, if you're not that familiar with the system or you're not doing a lot of screen sharing, you want to have the admin or the host be someone who is not speaking or presenting. And I say that because, as questions come in, it's very hard to monitor. Right now, you guys all saw we use the waiting room feature today. And again, you have to monitor that. So if you're not comfortable with the system and you're speaking, it's very difficult to monitor that waiting room and allow people to come in or push people out or answer any questions if you're the one who's speaking and presenting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a poll for you guys. Let me stop sharing my screen again. And so a couple of the things that we're going to be doing today is showing you different features that you can use within Zoom. We are recording this meeting. I also sent out a few handouts prior in the meeting, the meeting invite for you. Those are all in the toolbox as well, or the toolkit online, and I can also send those out to you. Zoom also has a lot of really great information, support that you can use, video tutorials and things like that. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to launch this poll to you guys to kind of get a feel for where everyone's at. All right, and I'll just give it another minute or so for everyone to answer that poll. I know we've got a couple people on the phone, so that's perfectly fine. Yes, go ahead, Debbie, please.
Okay, so I have updated my account with a picture because I ordered a camera. It just isn't here yet, and I don't know why, but I don't have any cameras. So why is the picture not showing? Because I thought at least I could be smiling out at everybody instead of just my name.
It depends on how you entered the system. Are you in the app or are you strictly calling in with the phone?
No, I'm in the app, and then I actually, because this morning I had one and I called in and I was in the app, and so it was showing my name, and then it also showed my call in. This time I waited till the information came up, and then I added back in with the code it gave me. So see how the box is yellow around me?
Correct, yes.
So I'm just on here one time in the app, but I just don't know why my name is showing, not the picture.
Yeah, it might be how you entered through the app. When I'm looking at your name, it's just showing through a phone. So that might be why it's just how it entered.
I'll send you a screenshot, but go ahead.
Yeah. And I will say as well that here at headquarters, we're not experts in this. So there might be some things that come through today that we don't know how to answer. Zoom is really backed up. I reached out to their support and they just said, unfortunately, they can't be on a call like this with us today to work through certain things, but definitely to reach out to them. As you know, a lot of people are using their system right now, and so they're just trying to work through a lot of things. So I will say that if you are trying to figure something out, the best way is to go to their support page first. See if you can find it. They have a search feature that you can put in keywords and it will pull things up. So I think that's the best way to get support right now. Otherwise, there is a lag in communicating with their team right now. For the polling, about 50% of you guys have only attended a Zoom meeting. And then the other 50% have hosted a meeting. No one's actually hosted a webinar today, or a webinar within the Zoom meeting webinar system. I'm happy to say too that most people, that no one answered, they can barely use a cell phone, so I'm glad with that. So that makes me happy. And that most can figure out technology through playing around and going through things. So that's great. But the main purpose of this was to show you the polling system. I will note as well that when you do a poll, you have to set it up ahead of time. you can't set it up during the meeting. So make sure that if you are wanting to do a poll that you set that up previously so that you can go ahead and launch that. Just by a range of hands, do you guys need me to walk through or do an in-depth look at actually setting up a meeting? Okay, I see no hands, so we're not going to do that. The other big piece that I've heard a lot of people talking about lately is breakout rooms. So that is a setting that you need to turn on within your account. So you actually have to go to settings, and I'll share my screen again with you guys so we can kind of walk through where this is. Give me 1 second. Okay, so when you go to the Zoom page, this is the page that you see. I've got to move my toolbar. So when you go into your account, this is the first page that you'll see. And here is the settings area. So right here is where you're going to go. They've got meetings, recordings, telephones. These pieces here just jump down to different areas. So what you're going to want to do is make sure you go to this part of your account and you have it set up for what you want for the majority of your meetings. So for example, there's the join before host. So that allows your participants to join the meeting, talk to each other before the host comes on and launches the meeting. So if that's something you want to allow for the majority of your events that you're hosting, you can go ahead and click that, and that will be a setting that just automatically shows up. So again, this is the area that you want to have. Again, if you want to have private chats on or off. But here is where the polling is. So if you want to have polling available, you can do that. But this is where the breakout rooms is found. So you want to make sure that if you're doing breakout rooms that you have this checked in your settings. If you don't have it checked in your settings, it will not show up as an option for you. Then within your meeting, and I'll use today's meeting as an example for us. So once the meeting is scheduled, it will show different things here. All you would have to do is go into edit, and down here is where you have the breakout rooms. So if I wanted to pre-assign breakout rooms, I can click this box, and what you do is you put in the email addresses of how you want to assign the rooms. You can have up to 50 different rooms at one time, which is really great. I don't think you should have more than that. Zoom does recommend having a monitor in every single room. That way it gives you the ability to know what's happening, kind of help with any questions. And the more rooms you have, the harder it's going to be to have those monitors. Again, that's a great way to have volunteers, your board, your committee members being a part of this. I guess my question to all of you is, do you want to try the breakout rooms? Do you want to see what it looks like? I'm seeing a lot of head nods. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to launch our breakout rooms. So right now I had selected that we're going to do 4 rooms. The system's going to automatically select the people to go in each room. I'm going to send you guys into the rooms and then wait a minute or so, and then I'll pull you guys back out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now.
Kelly?
Yes, Kelvin.
Can people decide which breakout room they want to participate in?
No, you would have that ability to push people only. So it's either an automatic where the system does it, or you can assign. So what I've heard through looking through different forums is that if you want people to select a room, so for example, if you have it set up like a conference where they can pick session A or session B, they actually build that into the registration form, and then they assign it manually based on what they selected in their registration form. So everyone's back now. So you can see it pushed you guys back, and then when I decided that I wanted to close and pull you back, it gave you that 60 seconds, and then if you didn't select to come back, it pulled you back automatically. Someone had asked, what's the purpose of the breakout rooms? Again, this is looking at it from a standpoint of if you were at a conference and you had multiple sessions running at the same time, you could push people into those different sessions while staying in the main conference. So again, if you wanted to do that, or if you wanted to have breakout conversations, it's a lot easier for a smaller group to talk to each other than 50 or 70 people to talk and have a discussion about something. Before I move on, does anyone have any other questions about breakout rooms? And I guess I'll open this up too. Is there anything specific that you would like me to review or go over or show? I see, Joan, you've got your hand raised. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just have a question in that I'm on that pro plan. It says that I can have 100 participants. Does that mean that I can have more people listening in, or do I need to upgrade my plan, adding more participants, paying for more participants in order to hold a luncheon, quote unquote, virtually?
Yes, you would. So every person who either calls in or logs in is considered a seat. So you should think about that as a seat. And so if you are expecting 105, you would need to have 105 seats available.
Okay.
Jill, did you
participants,
have
participants available? Okay, thanks.
Yep. Hold on, Jill. Let's.
I was answering Emily's question. That's all. She said, "How do you raise your hand?" I showed her.
I didn't know if there was a button that you press. Like, I know some of the systems have a hand raise button. Smarty pants, Jill.
So another thing I'm going to do and show you all right now is there's an option called a pin video and a spotlight video. So if any of you want to try this as well, you can have the pin. If you hover over someone's video, there's the 3 dots. And so if you hover over that and you pin it, that person will stay up on your screen. So even if you go from gallery view to speaker view, that person will stay on your screen. Now, as the host, you can also do what's called a spotlight video. So by me spotlighting myself as this video, it keeps the keynote on. So if I unmute somebody else, they are not going to take my place in this video. So for example, Joan, you're still up kind of far on my screen, so I'm going to unmute you. Maybe. I think you've muted yourself, so I think only you can unmute yourself.
There we go.
So I should still be spotlit, that I'm the main picture that you're seeing, even though Joan has spoken. Normally, if you don't have this feature on, Joan would have come into this. So I'm going to cancel this. So now, Joan, if you want to go ahead and speak again.
Hello, everybody. Can you see me on the screen? No.
I see you.
I don't show up on my own screen. That's why.
No, we can see you. I can see you.
I can see you.
Yep. I can see you.
Good.
I got my picture up.
So that spotlight feature is really good if you have a keynote that you want to make sure is the main picture that people are seeing. So no matter if they're going from speaker view to gallery view, that picture will stay there. Again, when you screen share and everyone gets small again, that person will stay in that main spot. So that's really good if you're having a keynote. A lot of people do Q&A through chat. So if you're doing that, or even using the Zoom webinar system, someone's going to have virtual or manually ask all of the questions that come in through that chat or the Q&A section. By having a person spotlit, the person asking the question won't show up on screen. The keynote will be there and everything. So a lot of the time, instead of jumping back and forth for someone quickly asking a question to the speaker answering it, it's just good to have them there. I will also say just really quickly too, you can see I have a background on currently. I'll turn off my background here. Let me turn that off. So you can see this is my office regularly, and then Zoom has that feature to do a virtual background. So depending on what it's like, you can switch it out to different backgrounds. Zoom has several that you can use. This is something this background that I put together was a step and repeat style that I just did through PowerPoint and saved as an image. So again, you have that ability if you're not wanting people to get distracted with what's behind you during the call. I do recommend that too for keynote speakers, especially to make sure that again, there's not that distraction behind you. I will say that sometimes, depending on what you're doing, like my hands, if you move them too far away, it gets mixed into the background. So just something to note. Also, while doing your searches, there are some video backgrounds. Be careful with those, because the movements can be very upsetting to some people. That if you have an ocean scene or trees and they're waving in the wind, they'll get distracted by that movement versus what we're going through today. Another big part of the system that I wanted to review with you guys today relates to continuing education. So one of the pieces for continuing education is being able to report who actually attended the meeting. With that, what you're going to want to do is most likely launch a registration within the system. Zoom does do reporting, and I'm going to share that screen with you in a second and show what some reporting looks like. But the only way you can get reporting from Zoom is if you have a registration form. That's included in any of the paid systems with Zoom, is that you can do a registration form. It can be something as simple as first name, last name, email, or you can do custom questions if you wanted to find out more information. For example, are you a manager? Are you a business partner? Are you a homeowner? So again, you can do custom questions, but for the reporting to work, you have to have the registration up and running. I'm going to open up a report just to show you what it gives you. So this was a report from a test meeting that we held. So here you can see it's got the name, the email, when they joined, when they left, how long they were actually in the meeting for. And this attentiveness score is used to show how much the Zoom screen is the top screen on their computer. So you can actually see if people are paying attention, if they're doing other work. This isn't necessary for any of our reporting purposes, but it can sometimes be interesting to see how engaged your attendance really is from this report. So I'll go ahead, I'll share my screen too really quickly to show you where that is within the Zoom system as well. So let me share that part. So when you're in your back end of your system, what you're going to do is you're going to come down here into the admin section. It's under account management and then reports. And again, all of this information of where to find these things are in the file Zoom general instructions and references for you. So it will show you exactly where you can go for these. This report that I just showed you is the active host report. So when you go here, it will actually show you what is going on. So we have this test meeting, and this is what it is. You can also look at your past reports too. You're most likely not going to use it by user. Zoom has a feature that you can add multiple users to one account. And so you can look at all of the different users, what they're doing, what meetings they're having. I don't think any of our chapters are going to be using that, so you don't have to worry about that aspect of it. But this is the section that you're going to pull the reports from. This will also give you any polling that you have. So if you did a poll, it would pull those poll results for you as well. You can offer the poll anonymously and it would give you just the generic answers, or you can take off the anonymous and see who's actually there. So a couple of forums that I've heard as well have also used the poll at the end to say, you know, thank you for joining. If you want CE credit, please make sure you, you know, click yes to this box for us to send you the credit. And they use that too as a reporting feature. Let's see. I see that you guys are chatting. That's great about, you know, how you can add different amounts to your plan. So that's great. Is there anything else within the system that anyone would like to see me run through? Otherwise, I think I'm going to open up some things for discussion to see if there's any questions that maybe the group can answer or run through.
I have a question. Can you join different breakout groups throughout the meeting, or?
Zoom currently, it's one set of breakout rooms. So if you're pushing people into breakout rooms, it will push them into the same group of breakout rooms.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. You can, I think I mentioned this, you can do up to 50 for that. I will also mention too, someone had asked about registration fees. Zoom does connect through PayPal. So if you already have a PayPal account or if you're working with PayPal, you can connect there. They also have connectors through Cvent and Eventbrite, which I know a lot of our chapters use those two systems as well. So you can run the registration for the webinar directly in that system. It connects through a third party called Zapier. And so it connects, and what Zapier does is it takes the information from your attendee and it puts it into the Zoom system as if they registered through Zoom, and then they'll have the ability to connect through there. But all of your information through Eventbrite and Cvent are being tracked in your system, and payment is also being tracked in your system. So it does integrate with those three systems.
Right.
I do know that the other part of the question was out to chapters. Are you guys planning to charge for any of these educational webinars coming up? So I just kind of want to open that up to the floor, what your plans are. Go ahead, Kathy. I think you're on mute still.
Yeah, we decided we were going to start doing this before all this stuff happened. So our chapter's planning on doing that. We were actually planning on recording our program that was supposed to happen today. So yeah, we're planning on doing that.
Okay. I see a couple people through chat have said that they are not charging currently.
Kathy, what are you charging approximately?
Well, I'm from the Midwest, so we're really thrifty. So we normally charge $25 for a lunch program. So we're probably going to only charge $20.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
We're charging 15 in LA, 25 for non-members.
Yep.
The other piece too, I just thought about this that I hadn't mentioned, was making sure that you manage the expectations for both the speakers and the attendees. Make sure that with the attendees that they notice stay muted. Kind of, this might be the first time that they're going on an online meeting. I did send out a tips for participating in online learning. You're welcome to use that, make your own, but just making sure that you communicate some of that etiquette. Are they going to be on video? Or do you expect them to be on video during your meeting? Or are you going to have the video feature shut off? So helping set that expectation helps people's comfort levels, especially when they're doing this for the first time. The other thing too to think about is your speaker. Have they done this? Have they used a different system? Have they ever touched the system that you're using before? It's always good to do a little run through. You don't have to do a full run through of the presentation and everything like that, but making sure that they can get logged into the system, that the microphone that they're using works well enough, that they can hear audio. If they're playing a video, that the video can play through. Are they going to be running the slides? Are you going to be running the slides? So just making sure you can work through all of those logistics and feel very comfortable before launching. And I do recommend doing that a couple of days prior to your webinar. If you do it too early, let's say you have something in the books and you're like, let's do it now, even though the webinar is not for 2 months. I've found that speakers who aren't using the system on a regular basis forget how they went in. They forgot what microphone they used. They decided to change locations, and instead of doing it in their office, they're doing it from their home, and they don't have the same internet connection or microphone availability. So just making sure that they're in the spot where they're going to be doing the webinar and using the same equipment that they're going to be using for that webinar. And that way you can figure out the majority of the IT issues ahead of time. Zoom also is recommending, if you have the ability to potentially record the presentation prior. There's multiple ways to record, whether you're recording in Zoom and show that recording, whether you're recording in PowerPoint, or a more professional style recording of the presentation. Just so if someone has a technology issue or if the Zoom system is getting overwhelmed and video needs to be shut off, that presentation piece will still be able to go. So that might be another option too. I've also seen that for speakers who are a little unsure about themselves. If they do a recording ahead of time, then they're comfortable for that recording. But I will say, if you do that, make sure the speaker is still on the presentation so they can answer the questions that attendees might have. So you're still going to get that feedback from them, even though it's a recorded presentation.
Kelly?
Yes.
It's Ellen Felix. We're working our first practice session, sort of, kind of, just the panelists and myself as the host. There's an opportunity to choose a non-broadcasting feature that allows the panelists and the host to practice and not launch publicly. So, and then you can turn it off and then you can go back again and do it tomorrow, and you can turn it off and go back and do it tomorrow. And that's great because we found some glitches and we're going to try again tomorrow, and everything's set up the way we want it to be set up.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And that's a great feature. Sorry, everybody. That's a great feature for the webinar piece, that if you are doing that, again, some people are concerned about the price that is connected to the webinar feature. So if you have that ability to do it, I do think that it's a great feature to have.
Right.
Kelly, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering, I don't know whether you mentioned this before I had to step away, but we're considering after the first 5 minutes actually locking that meeting for the education credit value. Have you found that that upsets people? Is that the easiest way to do it? Anybody else out there? Do you use that feature?
I haven't heard it upsetting anybody, but I think it's also setting that standard with your attendees, letting them know in that pre-communication that at a certain time point, if you are not in the meeting that we are locking it and you're not going to be able to join. Usually people only get upset or start emailing, hey, I can't get access to this, if you don't communicate that. So my recommendation would be, just make sure you communicate that. I will also say too that we use the waiting room feature. So we were able to do that. And that also helps monitor pushing people out. If you use a waiting room, I can actually push you back out. So if someone who's not supposed to be here is here, then that's, I can push them out.
Oh, good to know. Thanks.
Quick question. How do you do that? How do you block the meetings that people can't join? Because I have people who love to come in 30 minutes after the start of everything. So how do you do that?
Joan, do you want to speak to that, knowing that you've done that before?
Yeah, I think it's in your invitation, or, then you go into actually user, the management side of it. You can set your meeting to do that, and you can actually set the time that you lock it, right?
Kelly, can you split screen and show?
I've never locked a meeting before, truthfully. Yeah, I haven't personally. But what I can do is I'll get the actual breakdown from Zoom, and I'll send that out to the group too.
Yeah, because I can't remember.
I believe in a settings feature.
I just did it today with the webinar. I don't know if it's the same as with the meeting, but there's a cog, like when you launch the webinar, the host can see a little cog wheel. And if you click on that, one of the options is to lock the meeting now. So that's like an on-demand thing once you start it. I don't know if that's how a meeting works, but that's how I just did it a few minutes ago.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Tony, I see you had your hand raised. Did you want to take yourself off mute?
Yeah, I was just going to ask regarding recordings. If you have a pre-recorded program, how do you show that in the Zoom platform?
And that really depends on the system that you're using. Again, if you're using the meetings platform or the webinar platform, they're a little bit different. What I've seen with the meeting platform is that you would share that video and launch that as a screen share. But I don't think I can show this as a screen share, but when you do the screen share function, a little box comes up and you can select what you want to show. And so you would select that video, and then you would make sure that the two boxes are checked at the bottom, which the first box is a share computer sound. So that's how the sound is going to come through with the video. And then the other one is going to be the optimized for full screen video clip. So you're going to make sure that you have that one clipped or checked as well before you hit the share button. You can't go back and add those once you hit share. You would have to stop the screen share and then go into that. Most people who I know are doing that, they'll actually set this up prior to allowing people into the meeting. So their screen's already sharing, similar to how I had the picture showing when you guys came in. So that was already me sharing my screen, ready to go. And then when you're ready to start, you just start playing the video.
Hi, Kelly. It's Annalisa in Orange County.
Hi.
Everyone. Thanks for doing this. Super duper helpful. I have a question. We did a Couch Connect last Wednesday, and in order to get feedback, we did a Survey Monkey, and we asked our managers to send me an email saying they completed the Survey Monkey, and that's how we tracked their point. But I'm wondering, do you know whether Zoom has a survey function within it?
The meeting portion does. Look. Sorry about this. Hold on one second. Sorry, everybody. Working from home, right? With kids out of school. So Zoom webinar feature does have a survey connection. So you would still run it through SurveyMonkey, but it would launch it right after and go. The other way that people have been doing surveys, if you don't want to email, is through the polling system. So you would launch the poll at the end of your meeting. Does anyone else have any other questions? I know one was using the free version. So one thing I'd like to note about the free version is normally you can only run a 40-minute meeting for 3 or more people. And it doesn't have the polling or the registration feature. But again, if you can pay per month for this versus a yearly subscription, if that works better, if you wanted to try it out for a one-time thing. I have heard from some people that right now Zoom is waiving the time limit for the free version just because of everything that's going on. But that's not guaranteed. They don't have that showing on their website anywhere. So again, I can't guarantee that if you were running this as an education event and it was going to be longer than 40 minutes, that it would be guaranteed that Zoom would allow you to do that. So again, if you are planning to do that, I do recommend buying the paid version. Again, I want to say it's $15 a month, so it's not terribly expensive.
Kelly, I know another question that came up is, could people sign up for a breakout ahead of time? And I don't know if that's something that you had said they can't choose their breakout. I didn't know if that's something that you could include in registration, or, you know, I was thinking you could give them the choices, they could click what they want, and then you could just assign them from that.
That is correct. So with the registration, you can actually do a pre-export of who has registered. So if you wanted people to select it, what you would do is add that to that registration section. You would export that prior, and you can actually upload a CVS file directly into the breakout section, and it will put each of those people into the breakouts that you want them to be in or that they have said that they were going to go to. So I would recommend doing that. It's a very quick, simple way to do.
Kelly, it's Annalisa again.
Yeah.
Sorry about this, but last week I inadvertently hit the record to the computer instead of record to the cloud feature, and I've been able to extract the Excel spreadsheet and listen back to the video, but I'm trying to figure out how to get a link that I can then share outside of my computer.
Yeah, so you would then have to use a different source, being that if it's on your local device. So you would either have to do like a private video within like YouTube or within another system if you're wanting it to be that public recording. I will say too, just for people to know, usually the cloud recording comes with a certain level, or you can pay extra and add that onto it. So, but again, then it's a little bit easier to share those recordings versus it being localized to whatever system you're on. So for example, today's recording will be local to my computer. So anybody else that's a part of the team wouldn't have access to it, and we have to put that out through a different system. So again, if that's something that you're looking to do, you'll want to make sure that you purchase that piece through Zoom as well. Go ahead, Kathy.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Vicki. Go ahead.
My audio went off, so I didn't know if you could hear me. I had all of our seminars at our conference. Our AV company did the presentation and the audio. Can we use those on the webinar to do education classes, since it's going to be coming to me and it's not recorded into the cloud?
You're on mute, Kelly.
Sorry. You'll do what we were talking about earlier of showing that video into the Zoom platform. If you have webinar, the webinar system, you can actually load a video in there, I believe. But again, if you were using just the meetings platform, you would launch that video through one of the players on your computer and play it through in that way. That's a good workaround for it. Just make sure that if you're offering credit for it, you touch base with Virginia, with KMCB, to make sure that they have that for you, that it's a virtual showing of this content.
Okay.
Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to tell everybody that we started using Zoom for our board meetings, and we have been recording them. So they'll send you like a link once if you do choose the option to record it. So you can like share that link with your board members, or if we're also using it for like committee meetings because we have such a vast area here in the Heartland chapter. So I've also found that board members tend to be better at board meetings when you're having them recorded, just to let everybody know that in case they've got a difficult board that needs to be held accountable for that. So anyway, just a little extra little added bonus that I've discovered. So, but they do send you like a link that you can share for people to watch after the fact.
Kathy, that was great. Thank you for that tip. And I know we've got about 10 minutes or so left. Does anyone else have any tips from any webinars that they've attended or hosted that you think would be really good for the group?
Kelly, I have a question. This is Emily. What is a good time frame you think for a webinar? I was just curious if any of you guys, have classes that are like 2 hours, or if you're turning a half-day conference into a webinar. Does anyone have any feelings on what's too long or what's a good length for a webinar to keep people's attention?
So I've changed a whole bunch of my meetings from, an 8-hour day to 4-hour days to 1-hour sessions, because in all reality, since we're all home, we have things that come up and we push them to the side for as long as we can. And generally speaking, if it's kids or dogs, they're only going to be able to last for maybe an hour. And a lot of the times not, right? So we've decided to just do 1-hour sessions, have them every day of the week, same time, same, day of the week, so that it's something that our members can count on. Because I think in all of this, our members want some dependability. So if they know that every Thursday at 10:15, we're gonna have a webinar, like I think that that's something that we can give them to count on, and something to look forward to every week.
We're doing that for happy hours.
How do you do your happy hour?
Yeah, we just launched it last week. We're doing them on Thursdays at 3 p.m. We had about 12 people that came last week, so the word's kind of getting out. So we have more people hopefully coming tomorrow. When I say coming, I mean virtually, of course. Yeah, I just send them the link to come, and they just show up, and everyone brings their own drinks. And so we might be wearing crazy hats this week. We haven't decided yet. So it's just kind of a way for people to kind of stay in contact with each other.
I will recommend, and Zoom and even the FBI is recommending this, that if you're making any of your links public, so if you're putting out a Zoom link onto social media, directly on your website, anything like that, that you at least have a waiting room available. Again, we're hearing stories and issues of hackers hacking in to just be a part of it. Some people, on the worst case, are being able to share their screen with the group and they're showing pornography. So again, just to have that extra layer of security, they are recommending that you at least do the waiting room option, because then it's easier to push people out. And if you push a person out, you can actually block them as well with the waiting room feature. But if you don't have that enabled, you can't do that. They can just keep coming right back in. So just be aware of that. There's also a feature too, depending on it, you can not allow other people to share their screens. So you can put that block on it and only the host can do the sharing of the screens. You can also make it mandatory that everyone is muted all the time. So just think about some of those security features based on what you're using the platform for. So again, if it's something that you're like, you know, this is an education piece that we're feeding out and the audience isn't going to have that much participation, you might want to put some of those security features in place.
Quick question.
Yeah,
on, you know how you can mute people automatically?
Mm-hmm.
So I found that when I do that, they're still able to unmute themselves. Is that?
So there is a setting that you can set up for the meeting that the audio cannot be turned back on. So they can't unmute themselves. So that would be a setting that you would have to set up prior to the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Someone did ask too if you can have more than one host. Yes, you can do that. You can either set up a person by their email address as a host in the setup feature. So when you're setting up the meeting, you can add additional hosts. So when they log in, they'll automatically get that access. Or what I can do, since I'm the host, I can actually hover over somebody and I can actually make them a co-host. I can also pull those rights away as well as being the main host. Only the main host person can do that. So whoever logged in as the account holder, so for example, that was me, I logged in as the account holder, I have the ability to add and pull that away from people. But if I made, for example, Emily a co-host, she would not be able to add other co-hosts. She can take that away from herself if she's like, nope, I don't want to be a part of that. But that does give her other abilities such as helping push people out to breakout rooms, seeing different chat features. So you just see things a little bit differently.
I have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you said the FBI, which got my wheels turning, right? So if some malicious person out there sees, you know, our link online, or if we post it on Facebook, is that kind of giving them a way into our system? So all in all, if someone registers, we want to wait to send them the actual Zoom info until we have their emails, until we verify who they are?
So you can do two ways. So that's kind of two questions. So the first question is, you know, are they getting access to your information? They're not getting access to your information. They're only getting access to this Zoom meeting. So if you're holding the meeting and they come in through that public portal, they're just getting access to this. They're not getting any of that back-end data. So they're not actually, you know, hacking into the Zoom account of yours. They're not actually hacking into your database. They're just doing this as a disruption. So what they're doing is they're trying to disrupt meetings, disrupt pieces of the event. The second part was that registration. So if you have the registration piece open, you can either have it automatically approve the attendees, or you can do a manual approval. So if it's automatic, once they register, that person will receive an email with all of the details of the Zoom meeting with, you know, click here, here's the date, you know, all of that. And you can brand that, you can put headers in there, you can put logos on there, you can edit the message if you want them to be prepared with different items or look at an article before that meeting. If you do the manual approval, then you have to go in and actually say, yes, this person can attend. And when you approve them, that's when they get the email. So you do have a little bit more flexibility if you do that. I will say that's because it's a manual process, depending on how many people we're talking about coming to your webinar, that could be a very manual process to do and take up a little bit of time. Again, though, if you're worried about the security aspect of it, or even if you're doing something that's just for members, it might be a way to be able to do that checks and balance piece of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're almost done. I did have a question or a thing come through the chat for everyone to just introduce themselves of who's on the call, since we have so many on today. We've got about 46 or so people. So if you'd like, I can go through and I can unmute people, or you guys can unmute yourselves and just say your name and your chapter.
Hey, Kelly, I wanted to make a suggestion to you. If you guys want to see everyone, if you're not able to see everyone differently, if you go in the top right-hand corner of your view, you can change it to a gallery view or a speaker view. So I always like the gallery view so I can see all of you. So if you do it that way, you can see everyone.
Yeah, you can see everyone. And if you'd like, what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll send a note to everybody of just who was on, because again, with 46 people, that's going to take a little bit of time. So I'll ask if there's.
Could you say our name, and then we'll introduce ourselves. That way, everyone's not trying at the same time.
Some people I don't know your names to. I just see phone numbers or a chapter name.
Oh.
And I don't know everyone from all the chapters, if it's the executive director or potentially if it's another staff member that might be on with the chapter. So I think that might open up a can of worms for me that I don't know what to do if everyone's okay with that. But I will ask, if you do have any other questions, if you're trying to get comfortable with this system, we're here for you too. So again, if you're like, I want to play around with a meeting, I want to see how the registration system works, I want to launch a meeting and see what an attendee functionality can do, or I want to test the polling feature, you know, please feel free to reach out to us or other CEDs. You know, during this time, being this community, I think is great for us to have each other. But again, to help you get comfortable with the systems, definitely reach out to us. You know, we're here for you to help you through this system and through all of these things. I would also like to say, you know, if there's anything else that you have questions on, if you can't find it within Zoom, you know, again, let's use this exchange that we've got going. Feel free to post questions there, or again, reach out to us. We're not complete experts, but we do use this system often enough. And again, you could see from on this call, some people are using the Zoom webinar system versus just the Zoom meeting system. So I think that between all of us, we could probably figure out an answer to a question if we can't figure it out through Zoom support.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep anyone, but I am just curious because we talked about registration fees. What is anyone doing anything as far as sponsorships, getting business partners to help sponsor these as a way to spotlight them? My only concern, and this kind of came from my board, is just that some businesses right now are being hit kind of hard. So asking for more money kind of seems a little bit awkward, although we're not doing any events at the same time. So just kind of wanted to open that up for some feedback.
So we've actually, you know, we already sold sponsorships for a lot of the events. So now we're kind of like, all right, well, how do we make that relevant right now, right? So some of these events, we're refunding a small amount since it's not an in-person thing anymore, but we are allowing them like time in the beginning to do like a brief commercial. So, you know, like for a minute, the business partner can say, you know, hey, I'm with this company, whatever. And we're also allowing them the opportunity to share their screen so that they can go in and say, you know, check out our website. Here's something that's really useful that, you know, we think is relevant for homeowner leaders or managers. And then that's a way, you know, they're craving ways right now to get in front of people. So for a chapter to be offering solutions to this larger problem, I think that it's really, really helpful for them. So I think as long as you can offer something, no, it's not the same. And so you recognize that by refunding maybe partial payment if you've already collected, or making it, you know, a price that's feasible for just, you know, this virtual platform.
Hi, this is Christine Doman from we're Washington Metro chapter. I'm the events manager. So we are also doing something very similar. Our plan is to utilize either our education sponsors or our event sponsors, and we're going to be trying to do something every other week, whether it's a virtual happy hour or a town hall or a session. And so utilizing so that those sponsors are getting some view once every few weeks at this point. In terms of refunding, we haven't been doing that. We will find ways, I hope, to get creative mid-year or end of the year, or use it next year, like give them more bang for their sponsor dollars. So that's just how we're handling it.
Thank you, Christine. All right, guys. Well, I think we have, I'm not sure where Kelly went. So I know you guys have shared lots of good ideas. This is lots of great feedback. I wanted to let you know that those resources that Kelly shared with you on the Zoom information are also on the Chapter Leader Toolkit. If you go there, there is now a section for the coronavirus, and everything that we're sharing out on the daily tipsters and the things that we're producing will be posted there. So be sure if you need anything or you're looking for something to go there. And as Kelly said, please continue this conversation on the exchange, as well as anything else that you guys are facing as a chapter. And as Crystal said in the chat, if you guys would like to meet each other, I know that there are lots of familiar faces. Please join us next Wednesday for our water cooler conversation, and we will make sure we introduce everyone then. So if there is nothing else, thank you guys for attending today. Thank you, Kelly, for doing an awesome job.
Thanks, everybody. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, good luck with everything.